Join us today as we delve into the world of incels, misogynists, and men going their own way, where women haters mobilize and what has been coined the manosphere. We'll also be taking a very close look at the most violent sector of the manosphere, the incel, as well as some of the violence that has come from some of the most radicalized. Most incels, as well as other groups in the manosphere, are reported to feel a profound dissatisfaction with their lives. Many of the men going their own way are reported to suffer from psychiatric disorders, such as anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and a sense of entitlement. The following video contains material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Since the early 2000s of listening to our computers dial up the internet, there's been a growing trend of different online communities that promote toxic masculinity and misogyny. These fall under the umbrella term known as the manosphere and include different communities such as men going their own way, pickup artists, men's rights activists, and incels, or involuntarily celibate. So first up, we have men going their own way, a group the Southern Poverty Law Center says hold male supremacist ideology, which often overlaps with the alt-right, white supremacist movements. They believe that men should separate themselves from women and from a society destroyed by the feminist movement. They believe feminism has created a bias against men and give credence in alpha males and beta males. They borrow from the Matrix with the red pill, blue pill, believing that those who are aware of the dangers of feminism are red-pilled. Some people involved in these communities will deny that they even have a community, despite being linked to many online harassment campaigns. One thing that they all do seem to agree on, though, is a strong dislike for the next group in the manosphere, the pickup artist. If you, like me, immediately think of that weird VH1 show from 2007 when you hear the term pickup artist, you may be surprised to see that this is still a thing that guys pay other guys to train them in. It's a group whose only goal is sexual conquest with women.
Go. No. So, you were too close, there was no eye contact, and there was not enough BAM impact. Right? So, let's do it again. You're her, walk fast. Watch this. Lots of space, eye contact, without saying anything, and then, hey, can I just tell you something really quickly? Cool. Do you want to kiss me now? So, what I'm saying is, you've not done it 100%. If you don't do anything in life 100%, it's fucked, right? So do it 100%, baby.
While self-help books and seminars offering advice on how to date are definitely not a new phenom, in the more recent years, pickup artists have been facing larger scrutiny from different outlets. Many argue that it's a practice of pseudoscience that's filled with that of misogyny and pushy and uncomfortable behaviors that can even lead to conducts of sexual assault, using strategies that are designed to hurt the women's self-esteem while giving them the highest bed count for the pickup artist. One of these strategies is called negging, and in negging, an example of that would be, nice nails, are they real? It's a way to immediately knock someone's confidence down a level, which leaves the woman more vulnerable to the pickup artist and their tactics. Another strategy is called pawning. It's trading or discarding the unwanted women as proof of the pickup artist's own social value. Most pickup artists don't see anything wrong with this practice, while many women have said the problem is that some guys just don't know when to quit. What can one really say about the men's rights movement, other than the fact that the name sounds ridiculous because all of our rights have been given to us by men with men in mind? But basically, this is a group who believes in female privilege. They believe that chivalry is a privilege that women are afforded. An example, they get free dinners, drinks, helping with moving heavy items. The problem with this is that the person often buying the drinks or opening the door expects some sort of recognition and sometimes even to be rewarded for the act. Also, chivalry is considered a female privilege, but who's doing the chivalry? The men's rights movements also believe women are not expected to work for the family. They can just marry rich, Which, why didn't I think of that? I should have just married rich. But it turns out that a lot of women do have to work. We don't really have a single income economy anymore. And a lot of times the women work and then they end up still handling the majority of the domestic task at home. Women are accepted as emotional beings. They say this is a privilege. But some of the quickest insults men will use towards one another is to be a man or man up, where women's opinions will often be discounted as women are just too emotional. We're also expected to be the emotional outlets for others. Even its simple acquaintances will expect this of you, regardless of the comfort level of the women around them. One of their final points that they like to bring up is the rights of custody / termination of parental rights. And while less men are granted full custody than women, it needs to be noted less men seek full custody than women as well. Also, the majority of family judges nationwide are male. So if this bias is existing, it would have to be a majority of men who are biased. As for terminating parental rights, that's a topic that could be a standalone video all on its own.
Developments after that shooting rampage in California. Tonight, investigators pouring through that manifesto and, of course, the gruesome discovery in the alleged gunman's apartment. More bodies after his shooting spree in the streets. A community still in shock tonight. Thousands gathering at a park, candles in hand, holding a tearful vigil for the dead and the injured. Friends leaning on each other, so many new victims, so many others witnessing the shooting spree itself, lasting several minutes. And the slow and steady line of people this Sunday placing flowers at every stop along that route of terror. Tonight here, more on those chilling and eerie videos and on the police visit with the suspect well before all of this unfolded. We do have team coverage from the scene in California, and we begin here with ABC's Bazi Kanani right there again for us tonight. Bazi, good evening.
Good evening, David. Tonight, the memorials in this college town are growing. Students bringing candles, flowers, pictures to the places where their classmates lost their lives, as we're learning more about the victims and the deadly attack. The first images of the terrifying moments in this college town with a gunman on a rampage. Students seen ducking for cover in this surveillance video from the IV Deli Mart as bullets rip through the store's windows.
He fired 2 shots in. It stopped for about 2 seconds before they just started raining through.
Some of those shots killing 20-year-old Chris Michaels Martinez. Investigators say the deli was one of 10 places Friday night right next to the UC Santa Barbara campus where 22-year-old Elliot Roger hurt or killed people during his mad drive around town, hitting students like Nick Pasachuk, who tonight is still recovering.
Shots fired.
The first calls for help just before 9:30 p.m., but we now know it may have been many hours before that when police say Roger killed 3 men inside his own apartment, all stabbed repeatedly. Investigators say Roger then drove to the Alpha Phi sorority house, opening fire on young women in the area, killing 2 members of another sorority. Roger's next stop, that deli.
I honestly thought that was my last moment. I thought I was going to die.
Survivors say the suspect was smiling as he shot at them. Deputies chasing after him in his black BMW exchanged gunfire with him twice. The rampage ended with a crash.
It would appear as though he took his own life.
The term incel was actually started in the late 90s by a woman. She, before social media, wanted to create an environment for other lonely people to connect online. Back then, both male and females were part of the community and enjoyed the site together. Present-day incels, however, do not widely accept females at all into their group, or femcels as they're called. And they are also unrecognizable to the place she wished to create. Incels are heterosexual men who blame women and society for their lack of romantic success. They are known for their deep-seated pessimism and a profound sense of grievance against women. Their ideology is rooted in the belief that women have too much power in the sexual/romantic sphere, and they ruin incels' lives by rejecting them. Incels are the most violent sector of the manosphere and have perpetrated a range of deadly attacks against women. Many incels also report suffering from psychiatric disorders such as depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. One defining trait of not just incels, but many of the offsets under the manosphere, is a sense of entitlement that can become dangerous. Entitlement has been defined as an unrealistic, unmerited, and inappropriate expectation of favorable living conditions and favorable treatment at the hands of others. It's a personality trait that is based basically on the belief that they deserve special privileges or recognition for things that they haven't earned. Most of the time when we hear the word entitlement, we immediately think of the spoiled child, or in this day and age, we think of the Karen. But there are other reasons a person can develop an unhealthy sense of entitlement, such as a narcissistic personality disorder or an antisocial personality disorder. And once a person who has this sense of entitlement doesn't get what they want, it's quite common that they will lash out in anger and frustration, and that their attitude and mood can change quickly and abruptly, especially if they're not getting what they think they're owed at that time. The actions a person will express is mainly based on the belief that they should be admired and respected. Often these personalities can become overbearing and they'll lead to isolation from people. Another reason a person can develop a sense of entitlement is actually by using it as a coping mechanism. It can be a way for them to overcompensate for things that have gone wrong in their lives in the past. Some people will develop a self-righteous attitude from experiencing neglect as a child, or a child who is deprived of love and affection will grow up and demand it from others because they didn't receive it during the formative years. And people with narcissistic personality disorder and other forms, they generally perceive themselves to being superior beings to the rest of the world. They have a different view of the value of other people's worth, and they often don't like to follow other people's rules, which in turn is what leads them to believe that they are entitled to what they want, which in the case of the incel, they feel like they're entitled to the woman. In June of 2020, Cole Carini appeared in a Virginia emergency room, missing a hand and several fingers from his other hand, as well as being covered in shrapnel. Police went to investigate and found bomb-making supplies, as well as a note about a guy going to the mall to target hot cheerleaders, that they wouldn't be afraid no matter the consequences. He will be as heroic as Elliot Rodgers. Alec Manassian, who has also made reference to Elliot Rodger, committed a van attack in North York City Centre in Toronto on April 23, 2018. He killed 10 and injured 16. He then attempted suicide by cop. He had 10 first-degree murder charges brought against him and 16 counts of attempted murder, of which he was found guilty on all counts on March 3rd of 2021. Mark Lapine actually committed his crimes in 1989, almost a decade before the term incel was even coined. But he has retroactively been given that term based on his crimes and what his motive was. He murdered 14 women at the École Polytech in Montreal. He left behind a suicide note blaming women, namely feminists, for destroying his life. And now to the subject of the video clip we watched earlier. In May of 2014, Elliot Rodgers set out on a spree of killings. Rodgers stabbed 3 men in his apartment to death, recorded his infamous manifesto video, and emailed a lengthy manifesto to 34 people, ranging from childhood friends to his parents to his therapist. He wrote hate-filled racist comments, complained about women, how he was claiming war on women. If it were up to him, he would quarantine all women and intentionally watch them starve and die. After killing his 3 roommates one by one as they returned home, he then drove to the Alpha Pie house. He didn't get in, so he shot 3 women outside, 2 of which died. He then drove by and shot at a deli, where he killed another male student. Altogether, Rodgers killed 6 people. He injured 14 more, both with gunfire and striking people with his car. He interacted with cops multiple times, receiving an injury to his hip. Eventually, his car crashed into a parked car, and he was found to be dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And this is just 4 of many attacks that have been committed by those who self-identify as incels. I actually found a pretty good compiled list on the Anti Defamation League's website, so I am going to link that article down below. That way, if you want to check it out for yourself, you can. So thank you for watching this video. Until next time.